Hello, Barry Drennan, Fairbairn Protocol, H2H. We're just going to get out, we're going to play with the knife a little bit. Basically, I'm just going to run through a few of the movement drills I do. Nothing complicated, nothing fancy, nothing spectacular, but good, healthy movements for the use of knife. The camera is going to be a bit weird because you won't see my head a lot, and that's because I'm going to get back so you can see the footwork. That's what I want to bring out mostly here is the footwork as I'm working with the knife, and that'll go along with very well with our other video which showed us the knife techniques themselves. That focused very much on what the upper body's doing. So now let's look a little bit at how the bottom is working, what the legs are doing, and the body following the motion and such like that. So like I said, we're going to work through a little bit of movement and such, and we'll see that in those hands. So I'll be coming back later on to pick up the little turn on machine here for the camera, and we'll talk to you again then. So I always like to have a nice balance stance. Fairbairn talks about having a basic shoulder width, foot balance type of situation. He says, be on the toes of your ball of your foot, because that ball of your foot gives you that mobility, because you want to be moving all the time. And I talked to you before about staying behind the guns, So in this type of situation, my hand has already come forward and I'm starting to work the blade. We're going to start off from a back position with this type of situation here with the hand in front and the blade back here being protected and ready to be drawn. Now remember, this is a killing knife. It's not a fighting knife. It's a killing knife. And that's very important because the FS is the same way. It's a killing knife. You're not meant to have duels with this. You're meant to surprise your opponent as quick and as best way you can and kill the son of a bitch. So that's what it's about. So you'll see elements of that in what I do here. Okay, so now, again, we have a nice balanced position. Everything is good. The knife starts off in the back hilt. It's not going to move away from there because we're going to get behind our guns. We're going to bring it out. So we start moving that knife back and forth. Now you'll see that lateral movement, how I roll the blade back and forth. And what I'm doing now is I'm being very comfortable. I'll take it out of my hand and I'll go like this. And you see I'm just staying behind that blade and just being very comfortable with that blade in possession and what I'm doing with it. I want to be extremely comfortable. You notice that this arm now has got out of the way of being cut by any offensive movement by the opponent or such. And we're moving because we have the blade forward, we're moving to kill. So this is the type of thing. So we're talking about situations where I want to cut to kill. I want to cut to move in. That's the kill. So I can snap and then move in and make that movement. So it's that type of thing. So the same type of thing where I may come from here and make a lateral cut across my body and down the forearm of the opponent, and then come from there and make another strike of some nature. But the concept is always trying to kill, not to fence with anybody. So you'll see that again in my movements. So I'm always staying behind, always comfortable in the blade, always comfortable, moving that, changing my angle, staying behind. And you'll see I can take a thrust off the front leg, which is a short thrust, like this. Or I can take the thrust off the back leg, which is a long, deep thrust like that. That depends on where I am, what terrain I'm standing on, what's the opponent doing, and what am I doing with regard to my opponent in taking my fight to him. Remember, in fighting, you always got to take the fight to the opponent, whether you're trying to kill him or whether you're trying to box with him. It's the same deal. If you don't take the fight to the opponent, you're on the defensive. You have to be on the offensive. But I stay behind, and you see, I move with the knife. The knife stays with me, it guides. I don't get on the outside of the knife when I make a cut. I cut, I cut inside all the time. I stay inside. I don't throw my arm out and then try to make cuts. I don't. I go behind the knife, behind the knife. You see? So everything stays behind. So you see my footwork is always in that same balanced position. I'm not leaning out, knee is not over the foot, body's not leaning before that, where I can commit my weight and I can't retract. Always in that nice, balanced situation where we can have those type of movements take place. Same thing as we move around. It doesn't matter where we're doing it, all the time. You can see we stay behind the gun at all moments and all times, no matter, even in kata, we still keep ourselves in that posture of the opponent coming in and moving out of the line, but still keeping behind that blade, so to speak. Now, of course, when I sweep, it's not going to be behind blade the whole time. We're talking about common sense here, all right? So, moving back and forth all the time, and never staying still with that knife, never staying still in a target. I don't want to be a stationary target that he can then cut. I don't want that. I want to be able to move around. I want to be able to move forward. I want to be able to change my position on my legs. It's not fencing where I'm going to be using constantly a forward foot motion or something like that. Not happening. So what we're going to do, very, very loose, very motion, nice, nice, nice cuts, cut, move different things, cut, this type of stuff, inside, lower to top, not inside, up underneath. So these type of things are cut, snapshot, in, back out. All these type of things are going to be going on. Cut the wrist to the center. Snap the wrist, snap the hand pulls back, follow it in, strike. These type of things are going to go on. And in forward motion, this type of thing. So whatever's coming out, I'm cutting, and then I'm moving off of that to make my lunge, if that's appropriate. It might not be a lunge. You never know what's going to happen. So it's going to be whatever comes. So maybe I cut, he retracts, and I come in and I come across. Maybe that. I don't know. So, but any of that's back and forth. So we come in, we're doing that. And you see how the blade leads by the thumb. And we're always keeping behind that weapon. But the footwork, not some fancy dance. Just straight footwork, straight simple stepping, even on an Encarta, pretty straightforward. Encarta's not Fairbairn, by the way. That comes from the works of John Steyer, Cold Steel. Flows very nicely with the Fairbairn stuff, but it is not Fairbairn. Excuse me. So this is what we're doing here. We're sticking with these movements, and we're doing all the same thing. Now I can place my finger here and go this way. But I prefer here, even though it causes the rotation. There you snap, bring it back, snap, bring it back, snap, bring it back, snap, snap, snap. And always that blade has to, no use slapping a guy with your blade. Cut, 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 step in, cut, retract, cut, 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 step in, boom. Grab wrist, cut wrist, move in, cut, da, da, da. Move on the outside, cut, da, 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 da. In step comes in, cut. The same thing, cut, thrust through. Come on, cut, thrust through, come through, cut, thrust through. All these type of things. So anything comes in, this is where it goes. Now remember, when you get that blade in, make sure you make damage when you're in there, right? So all that is flowing in this same thing. So nice and beautiful. And I joke with my students about this. I talk about like the Kung Fu guys being like the snake, eh? And all the time. And I do a lot of breathing when I do movements. I'm always trying to breathe out on the thrust. Clearing areas behind me, maybe. And you see the feet, always high mobility, mobility, mobility. All the time mobility, stance. All the time behind the weapon. All the time in guard. Thank you for your time. So basically, that's what we're working for in terms of footwork, body movement, and how that relates to the use of the knife in terms of creating opportunity of angle, opportunity of range, And of course, all of those related to opportunity of target, because we're not interested in scoring points. We're not interested in anything other than killing the opponent. I guess the fantasy that comes into it, where we decide we're going to give him enough little cuts and nicks that he now thinks that he's a bad boy and he does not want to deal with the master anymore. But I kind of think that's bullshit. I kind of think that when it comes to a point where people start bringing these son of a bitches into play, you're kind of going for your life, which means you want to wound them very badly. I never really talk about killing as a priority in a sense of killing. Yes, I've mentioned it here as purpose of direction. But what you really want to do is to fuck somebody up. And if you fuck them up enough, they'll die. And that's the killing portion. But you're never looking for the kill shot. You're looking to fuck him up enough that he fucking dies or is wounded to a point where he can't continue the fight anymore. That's the real goal. Because you don't win wars by killing other people. You win wars by never getting killed yourself. So as long as I keep going forward and I haven't got killed yet, and I can still operate my weapons, operate my radio, do the mission, you know, whatever it is, pop the bad guy, that's great. Because that's where the real skill lies in, is in staying alive. And sometimes that means offense, not defense. And so that's why I use the fast term in the beginning of this video of killing your opponent. Because we want to screw him up enough that he's got some serious angles wrong with him. And we want to take advantage of that too. For example, going back to the blade again, all right? If I cut somebody, it's not like you see in these demonstrations of people sparring with knives and they got chalk and stuff. Because every time a guy goes against a knife in a video, he gets cut, he's still going 100%. Apparently there's no deterioration. Apparently there's no tendons cut. Apparently he's not bleeding out. Apparently all these things aren't taken into effect as all these people do this pressure testing of blade work. That's not true. Because when you start cutting people, they start reacting. Now, it's true that you can stab a guy and he might think it's a punch, but he still thought it was a punch. It wasn't like he's just a great guy and nothing happens and you're fighting Iron Man. Iron Man doesn't exist. The idea is to wound, take away assets, cause injury that create openings. Openings create opportunity, and opportunity creates situations that are so damaging your opponent is no longer a threat in any fashion that you deem necessary. You deem necessary. You might feel that wounding and maiming is fine today, but your mission may say, can't do that. We have to make sure there's nobody behind us, and that may be something else, perhaps more lethal. But you determine that by control. Control comes from attack. Attack gives you control via injuring the opponent. So that's what we're after here. We're after injuring the opponent. So as we move to somebody, we may move very quickly and just stab him. Or we might grab him and stab him. Or we might take him from behind and put it inside and work the blade. But whatever we're doing, it's always that same intent of causing massive injury to the point that they can no longer determine what they're going to do. We are determining it, be it lethal or non-lethal. So the footwork matters. So no matter where you're going with footwork, even if you're stepping forward, you have to be intelligent. You have to have that knife in front of you, and we have to be working that way. And this way you and the blade become one, and you can grab and thrust, or grab a wrist and cut it, or you can grab a person, step away and cut the wrist. You know, you don't have to enter the body. You can do many things. You will determine it as you go. But it all comes down to these babies. If you're not mobile in a fight, even if it's directive, you're in a bad situation. So learn how to walk, learn how to work comfortably. That's what Miu Musashi says. Don't be jumping around, no great leaps, no running about. Just move about well and comfortably and sure-footed, and that's the trick for the blade. And so you'll notice I've never said this stance, that stance, or anything else. All I've told you about is having balanced positions and keeping behind the blade. That's the main priority, and knowing where you're going in terms of how you're going to make that injury and how to follow up through that injury into whatever is the next opportunity that can give you gold. Gold. So, thank you very much. I'll grab my little button here and turn off the video. I hope this makes sense to you guys, and we'll see what happens in the comments. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you maybe in Switzerland. Ciao.